He was the most loving husband she had ever known. She made sure of that. She made sure he could never leave. Welcome back to Karma Quietly Whispers, my loves. This is your place for spooky, creepy, and scary stories. My name is Elara, and I am your whisperer. Tonight, please join me as we journey together. I'm sure you will enjoy what is to come. So, let us begin. Tonight, we're doing something a little different. We're stepping inside the mind of someone who does a terrible thing and believes completely, genuinely believes that it comes from love. This story comes from r/ShortScaryStories, a fictional horror piece that I want to explore tonight. Not because it's supernatural, but because it is one of the most psychologically chilling things I have read in a very long time. It is short, it is quiet, and by the time you understand what's happening, it's already happened. Let me take you into her world. She is devoted to him. She has always been devoted. He is her everything, her reason, her anchor, the thing that gives her days their shape. When she thinks about him, it is with a particular brand of love that most people would recognize as devotion, and a smaller number of people would recognize as something else entirely. She loves him more than anyone else can. She knows this. She is certain of it. The worst part of her day is when he leaves for work. That gap between his absence and his return feels unbearable to her. Not sad, not lonely in the ordinary way, but physically painful. She has built her entire interior world around his presence. Without him in the room, she doesn't fully exist. And then, one day, he stops leaving. He is ill. He has been feeling unwell for a few days. He stays home. And she is already prepared, his devoted housewife, his caretaker, his love, to tend to him. She brings him food. She sits with him. She touches his forehead. She watches him sleep. And she notices that the food tastes different to him. He mentions it. He says the flavor has changed slightly. She giggles and tells him it's the ingredient of true love. He rolled his eyes. He believed her. He shouldn't have. He's been getting worse. The illness started around the time the taste changed. He's running a low fever. He's having nightmares. His body is growing visibly weaker. She can see it happening, day by day, and she watches it with the careful attention of someone monitoring a process. Not the terrified attention of a wife watching her husband suffer. The patient attention of someone watching a plan work. Because that's what this is. She decided to do this. She tells us that herself, in the quiet of her thoughts. She knows it might be wrong. She almost acknowledges it, but she doesn't stop. Because she cannot stand the thought of him leaving. Not leaving her for another person, not leaving the marriage, just leaving the house, going to work, being somewhere she cannot see him. And so, she has found a way to keep him home, to make him need her completely, to make the outside world inaccessible to him. She touches his lip. She says the words, "Till death do us part, my dear." And she means both parts. I want to sit with this story for a moment because I think it deserves more than just a reading. What she is doing has a name, multiple names. The most clinical is Munchausen by proxy, or what is now called factitious disorder imposed on another. It is a form of abuse in which a caretaker, almost always someone in a position of love and trust, deliberately induces or fabricates illness in another person to keep them dependent, to generate attention, to maintain control through care. It happens to children, it happens to elderly parents, and yes, it happens in marriages. The particularly insidious element of this kind of abuse is that it looks like love. It looks like devotion. It looks like a woman who never leaves her husband's side, who makes his food herself, who holds his hand through every sleepless night. The horror is that she probably does love him in whatever fractured, consuming way she understands love. The horror is that love and harm are not always opposites. Sometimes love, weaponized by control, by fear of abandonment, by a self that has dissolved entirely into another person, becomes the most dangerous thing in a room. The husband in this story is kind, warm, unsuspecting. He rolls his eyes at her answer. He trusts her. He lays back down. He has no idea. And that's the part I can't let go of. There are real versions of this story. There have always been real versions of this story. Women who have kept husbands ill for years. Men who have done the same to wives, to children, to aging parents. Caretakers who became imprisoners without the person they loved, ever understanding how the trap was built. The warning signs are subtle because the abuser doesn't present as an abuser. They present as the most loving, the most dedicated, the most selfless person in the room. They are always there. They know everything about the illness because they caused it. They resist outside medical opinion because outside doctors might find what they've hidden. If someone in your life is inexplicably ill, frequently ill, ill in ways that don't respond to treatment, and there is a caretaker who seems strangely, intensely invested in keeping them sick, in keeping them home, in keeping them away from other people. Trust the discomfort, ask the questions, make sure the person you love is safe. She strokes his forehead. He feels warm. It's working exactly as she planned. Love is the oldest story in the world, and it is the one most often weaponized because nothing else opens a person so completely. Be careful, loves, who you let feed you. Be careful who has decided that they love you more than anyone else can. Some stories don't need a monster in the dark. Some of them happen in the brightest, most ordinary rooms, between two people who share a bed and a last name and a life. Till death do us part. Thank you for joining me tonight. My name is Elara, and I am your whisperer. I'll be here, waiting for you next time. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment below. I want to hear your stories. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this story and want to hear more. This has been Karma Quietly Whispers. See you soon.